Hi, friends. This is our February check-in for my paid subscribers. I just so wish you were on the other side right now. Can be quite awkward just talking to myself, but I just have a few things that I have been thinking about. I titled this Zoom Discomfort, and then What are we doing here? And what is coming up. Those are my three things. I tend to like to have the magical number three because it's all my perimenopausal brain can ever seem to remember three things. So I think I'm going to start of those three with what are we doing here? And I don't know if you all read the post that I did. I think it was like 2 weeks ago, where I talked about the fact that I almost had a drink of alcohol. And yeah, I just shared kind of like the whole experience. It doesn't feel like there's really anything to hide with that. And I think, we share things publicly when we feel like it's a safe place to be able to do so, or that we feel like we've kind of have some sort of resolution of understanding to some degree to ourselves. And it really did feel that way to me. Um, I was on a trip and I was with a really good friend who doesn't really like, she's like one of those friends that lives far, far away and we like get to touch base. Just maybe once a month we might hop on the phone. So there's like not that like intimate, like she's not involved in understanding really this kind of part of my life with our sober sisters or whatever. So she naturally like just invited me to have a sip of alcohol. She had ordered a drink and I didn't, and I had a sip of her drink, and that probably I do think is was my first sip of alcohol that I've also had in 3 years, and I had nothing. That was fine. That was really non-eventful. My mind did not have a whole lot to say about it. I mean, other than the fact that the drink was absolutely really delicious. Um, but then the next night we went out again and she ordered her drink and then I was feeling a little deprived. I was feeling and as I say that, I actually want to look at that. Like what does it mean to feel deprived? So I'll get back to that statement, I think. But I love non-alcoholic beers. Those have always seemed to be a wonderful shoe-in for me. Like there's non-alcoholic beers on the menu. I'm always like, great, I'll take one of those. Like it's just easy. But where we were, there wasn't that option. Every place we went to was like they didn't have those. And so I think that part, I think I was feeling maybe just a little angry about that, like, dude, have something for those of us who don't drink. So maybe there was a little bit of that there. I think that there was probably a little bit of like, look at my friend, she's able to have one drink. And why could I not do that? And I absolutely do think I could do that. And as I say that, there's like, oh God, is that okay for me to say in this space where maybe some people really absolutely cannot have alcohol. It's not the right thing for them, or they're trying to drink less and they're in this group, and then here is kind of this person who started this thing saying she's gonna drink again. Is that confusing? Um, so those are all thoughts, right? Those are all things that my brain is producing. None of that like is true. Um, I don't know that. I could not know that. None of that is true right now. All that is happening right this very moment is I'm sitting in a chair, I'm talking to a computer, words are coming out of my mouth about something that happened in the past. My dog's down on the floor. Like, that's what's reality. And the way I'm seeing life right now, it's just constantly coming back to that, constantly coming back to what is true. And what is true is here. This is it. It's not my thoughts. It's not my reflections about whether or not I had a drink on a trip with a friend. Um, but it is true that I'm reflecting upon that here with you all because I it really had me thinking about what is the space of Sober Sisters in St. Louis? What are we? Who are we? What is it trying to do? And it still absolutely is a space that I want to have events that women look forward to coming to where they don't have to worry about alcohol being in the picture. Like, absolutely, that is still one of the main kind of missions of this group. But the other mission of this group is to offer what I feel like is kind of unique to alcohol curiosity, because there are not a lot of places for people to bring whatever they're feeling about their relationship to alcohol is. There's a lot of, I mean, when we think of AA or we think of, I don't know, like a book that I read a while back, This Naked Mind, it's like it's a place for sobriety. It's a place for not drinking. And this is a place of anybody is welcome as long as you're just kind of curious of exploring your relationship to alcohol. There is no one right way. There is no one right choice. How could I know that for anyone? It's just an invitation to come maybe talk about it or hear someone else's story or just wonder. Um, and so I have not had a full alcoholic beverage in 3 years or so, or plus some. And that's what's true here now, but I don't know what will happen. Maybe there will be a time where I'm out with that friend again in a year and we're, at a restaurant where she says this is the best margarita she's ever had, and I have one. And the place that I currently feel like I am right now in life is that that would be possible for me. I don't worry about that turning into another drink and then another drink. I don't even worry about that turning into a drink the next day. Um, I don't know. I'm starting to see it a little bit like how I see cake. I don't know. Cake is I love cake. I love the icing on cake. I love everything about cake. Especially like birthday cake, especially white cake with white frosting and yeah, food coloring, all the stuff. I don't have cake every day. I don't have cake once a month. I have cake here and there on a fun celebratory moment or something. And and it's always so great when I have it. And I'm also at a place where I typically have a piece of cake, and there is always part of me that wants a little more. Can I have like maybe one more slice, half a more? There's always a little bit more of that, but I kind of know it's on the other side of that, which might be like a messed up GI system or a stomach that doesn't feel so great or whatever. So I know that, I know that like typically that's what happens if I have too much cake. So, I think about alcohol that way now for myself. Like, what if I don't know, my husband's 20 in our anniversary and I have a glass of wine with dinner. And then I don't have another one again for like 4 months. That to me is like, if I got to curate Jen McDaniel's relationship with alcohol, that's sort of how it would look. Um, and so when I go back to that statement of it felt restrictive, there is something in my body that I'm sensing that feels like an all or nothing approach right now to alcohol might not be what feels most empowering for me right now. And and in that moment that's how that felt. I don't really have a whole lot of feelings about it right now because I've got no desire to have a drink. It's 11:52 on a weekday. So there's nothing in my body that would want any kind of drink right now. But anyway, so going back to just the point of sober curious, and this group, all are welcome. People who want to stop drinking are welcome. People who want to drink less are welcome. People who have had sobriety for 10 years and then have a drink or have a binge, have a moment of just drunkenness and come and then decide, okay, that wasn't the best idea. those people are any anybody's welcome as long as you're just like, yeah, I'm just looking at this. I'm just willing to look at this. I think one of the coolest things for people to do is to look at why. Why do you drink? Um, in that moment with my friend, it was like kind of like a food choice. It was like choosing the burger over the salad. Like, yeah, I think I kind of want a burger tonight, you know? I think I kind of want a margarita tonight. It was kind of like that. It wasn't like, ooh, I'm uncomfortable with this person across from the table with me, and maybe if I have this drink, I'll loosen up and I'll be more chatty with her. You know what I mean? So I think also looking at why we drink. I mean, I used to drink for so many reasons that don't really feel empowering. I drank because it was a habit, you know. I drank because I was cooking dinner and that's what I did when I cooked dinner, or that time of the day is kind of chaotic and it would take the edge off of life for me. Or I felt like it would allow me to feel closer to my husband in conversation at the table, you know, like going out to dinner. Once I got a few drinks in me, maybe I felt like I was more fun or more conversational, or we would have be silly together, and that would be so great, you know. But I needed alcohol in order to get to that place of comfort or ease. Um, I drank at a party to like fit in, you know. So it's looking at why. And I think that when we have cake, you know, to me, it's like, why do I have cake? Because I'm celebrating with someone and I love it. And it's just like a thing that I do here and there, you know? So anyway, that's kind of how I'm feeling about that. And I was like, God, is this a bad thing? Should I change the name of this group? I mean, and then I was like, no, just need to really look at what we mean by sober. And I think in the most recent post that I talked about, what do we mean by sober in this group? We really mean being alive and open and clear to like what is here in life, you know. And a lot of times alcohol is not that. You know, alcohol, I love I love being able to sense I love being able to sense my aliveness. I love being able to sense what I might call just the essence of here, you know. And alcohol does take that away for me for the most part. So I don't want to miss that. Um, so talking a little bit, I think I actually did just sort of talk about discomfort, but the book that we read for book club called Just a Thought by Amy Johnson. So Amy Johnson is a woman I've been following for quite some time. I've listened to, I think, almost every podcast she has. Her podcast is called Changeable. Um, I have listened to, not listened to, I took part in her Change Coach program, which was like a 6 month self-study program where we went through some coursework. We met every week for 2 hours, maybe it's twice a week. And it was to help me with becoming what might be considered like a change coach. And a change coach, ugh, God, the word coach is so everywhere, right? And what does it even mean? And I still have issues with that. So I haven't really done a whole lot with the coaching thing. Now that we have our Sober Sisters of St. Louis website, I do have like a place in there that if someone wanted to book a session with me, they absolutely could. But, and I'm kind of working on creating some content about what conversations like that might be. But anyway, her book, Just a Thought, really does look at thought and how thought can create so much suffering. And chapter 13 in there is about discomfort. And she says something along the lines of like looking at discomfort as a doorway and looking at discomfort as a way of seeing that there is some sort of belief in a thought going on. And so when we have discomfort, that's a really great opportunity to be like, what's going on? What story am I believing right now? What thoughts am I thinking? What is my brain doing? You know, I was going to try to give you all a specific example. There's always discomfort happening. I mean, who gets by without a day of something happening that makes them not feel some sort of discomfort, right? I think I'll share it's a dumb one maybe, but I was picking up my oldest son from the gym the other day, and I was taking he and a friend home, and my husband's out of town, so I was also trying to get dinner on the table, and my other two kids were home by themselves, and so I was trying to like kind of hurry, and I like went to pick him up, and I was in socks, so I was not going to get out of the car. So I was like waiting in front of the gym, and I told him what time I was going to be there, and it was like 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15, and I could feel like quite a bit of anger building up inside of me, and that's fine. Emotions are going to come. There's nothing wrong with anger. Great, that's that. But I was suffering not because of the energy of anger that was there. I was suffering because I had thoughts like, why, yeah, all sorts of things. How disrespectful of him not to be paying attention to what time it is. I've got all of these things I need to do, and he's such a narcissistic little, I don't know. Basically, I was like, making this just, I was spinning a lot of things. None of those things I knew were true. What was true is I was sitting in a car, I was waiting for someone, and it was an energy in my body. That's really all that was true. But my mind had a lot to say. I even noticed a thought about waiting on men in general, like waiting on a guy to call me, waiting. I mean, all it's almost like I was flooded with like relationships that have happened in the past and how a man has like stood me up or not been there or whatever. And that kind of stuff, I was like, whoa, that that was coming in, all just thoughts, but really adding layers of already anger. Like now I had these stories on top of it. So sometimes when we have discomfort, it's good to notice what is happening in the body, what is true, what is what is my actual thing here, and then what is my mind doing? And can we see that there's two things happening right now? There's an actual somatic feeling going on, but then there's stories that are layered on top of that, which tend to make it worse. And so that's the thing is just to notice that. That in itself, I think, is so huge because once we can see that really what's true and what's not true, things might soften a little bit. In this situation, I ended up leaving him. I texted him and I'm like, you're just gonna have to find a ride home. And I left. And then like, oh, and then I knew my mind was going to get chatty after I did that, but I was just like, this is going to get resolved somehow, and it did get resolved, which the resolve was me going back and picking him up and taking his friend home. But hopefully that moment of all that happened, you know, was a good thing for him. So now he'll remember to like look at his phone. He doesn't have a phone, but looking at his watch more to see what time it is. So anyway, discomfort is a doorway to an opportunity to see if we're caught up in our thoughts. Okay, the last part of this conversation today is just looking at what's coming up on Sober Sisters in St. Louis. We are going to do something fun March 31st. We're going to go back to Goldie's Hair and Wardrobe and kind of have some spring shopping because the seasons are changing and how fun to just get maybe a new something to celebrate that. And we are going to have a little bit of a practice with some silence. I'm hosting a silent retreat. It's not just for sober sisters in St. Louis. It's just really open up to anybody who's interested in experiencing longer periods of silence in September, and that is on the Sober Sisters in St. Louis website. But I just thought it could be fun, not fun. I thought it could be interesting for us to play around with a period of silence at that event. So maybe just like, I don't know, 5, 10 minutes of just kind of seated silence. And then moving into a conversation about urges and cravings. I posted on Instagram like three things like would you rather talk about intuitive eating? Would you rather talk about cravings and urges? And then the third thing was shoot, I can't think of the third thing, but whatever. 100% of people picked talking about urges and cravings. So that is something that I talk a lot about in my practice as a dietitian. So we'll just have like some fun conversations around that. I am no expert in anything. I am just here to facilitate conversations and us to all enjoy each other and learn from each other and yeah, have some courageous, open conversations. So, anyway, that is my little kind of summary for February. Please feel free. Please just feel free to comment or send me a message. Let me know what you are really wanting from this group. Are you wanting more gatherings? Are you wanting like Zoom get-togethers? Are you wanting one-on-one time, talking through some stuff, like whatever. I would just love to hear what this group would like some more of. So, anyway, all right, friends, happy almost springtime. I look forward to hopefully seeing you in March. Bye.